Good evening and welcome. Sorry for the slight delay in starting. But welcome to everybody to the first cabinet, to the first meeting of the new cabinet. So very warm welcome to Isaac and a welcome return to all of you. There aren't any public present. And as you'll be aware, we have additional security measures that are now in place. The meetings will be the CCTV and audio recording in operation in the public gallery, and the recordings of that are held for 5 months. I don't have any apologies from anybody tonight. We're all present and correct. Do I have any declarations of interest?
Just in relation to item 6, I'd just like to refer to the Register of Members' Interests, which shows that I'm a patron of Cheltenham Open Door, but that's not a position of management or control and has no pecuniary involvement, so I intend to stay in the meeting if that's okay.
Thank you, Councillor Hallwood. I can't see anybody else indicating. So that takes us on, excuse me, that takes us on to the minutes of the last meeting. Everybody who was here, is there any comments that anybody wants to make or alterations? If I could see a show of hands from those that were here on that day. Thank you very much. That then leads us on to the, for me to sign the minutes, actually. We have no public questions. We do have one member question, and the answer was supplied, and I understand that Councillor Willingham was happy with the answer that he received, and he's not here, so there is no supplementary. We've got no meetings, no referrals from Council, Overview and Scrutiny or any other committee back to us tonight. What we do have, the next section is section 5, reports from cabinet members and or officers. In this instance, although cabinet portfolios have changed, the direction of travel was long ago set by the previous cabinet member. So in this instance, although the climate portfolio has changed to Councillor Dobie, it will be presented by Councillor Lewis for today's meeting. Thank you, Councillor Lewis.
Thank you, Leader. And I mean, what a privilege it is to have one last report to Cabinet from my 2 fabulous years as the Cabinet Member for Climate Change. It was an incredible experience, and I think this report is a very meaningful contribution to how exactly we've got to where we are. So one of the biggest questions I often had when I was Cabinet Member for Climate Change, particularly from the public, with organisations I was working with, was, you're going to get to net zero by 2030, all right, how on earth are you going to do that? And this report is fantastic. For anybody who hasn't read it, it's a beautiful, full colour, full graphic report that explains exactly how we're going to do that, charts our progress over the past few years, and really does include all the big highlights from the Green Deal through to net zero, houses, supporting businesses, NHS, dentists, anything we can do as a council that we have done and anything that we have a plan to achieve before 2030. It's a really ambitious document and one that I know my colleague, Councillor Ian Dobie, will have the immense privilege of trying to deliver. I wish him every best wish on that, and I'm happy to take any questions or queries, but also thank the officers, particularly the Interim Director of the Department, Debbie. They are an excellent team. I'm very sad to no longer be working with them. Ian will have the very best time.
Thank you, Councillor Lewis. Anybody got any questions or comments? Councillor Dobie, and then I've got Councillor Atherstone.
Thank you, Councillor Hay. Leader, as Councillor Lewis's successor in the Cabinet climate change role, I commend her work in delivering this paper. This is an immensely important document for the future of Cheltenham. It's written with the guidance of an experienced figure of national standing in the field, and it both reminds us of the blueprint of what a net zero Cheltenham could look like, and also sets out a draft roadmap of how we might get there in practice. The challenge remains, of course, immense and the goal of huge importance. Achieving it will involve most parts of this council and everyone in our town. The paper sets stretch targets, difficult targets, but achievable targets. Together, I know we can do it if we think global, act Cheltenham. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dobie. Councillor Atherstone.
Thank you, Leader. Thank you, Councillor Lewis, for bringing this report to us today. It's extremely thorough, as you mentioned, and it's just great to see the journey we've been on to date. I'd like to sort of mention two things, really, with regards to the sharing of our advice and guidance in terms of the climate impact assessment tool, and that we've been able to support so many other district councils and borough councils across England with sort of supporting them with their climate emergency goals. There is one mention with regards to greener transportation in terms of the e-scooters. And even though obviously it's a great mode of transport and we're supportive of that with Gloucestershire County Council, I do know that in the ward of St Peters, for example, and elsewhere in Cheltenham, that they can sometimes be misused and can be sometimes local residents are sort of quite fearful of them in terms of their zooming, perhaps with two people on them. So it would be great if the new Cabinet member, Councillor Dovey, could perhaps pick up conversations with Gloucestershire County Council to find out what's happening with enforcement and how these are they being used properly, and to try to get out to reduce some of that sort of antisocial behaviour. And then to also point out the fact that clearly with our housing stock, 4,500 homes, we have been successful over the last couple of years, as the report details, in terms of the Social Housing Decarbonisation Fund, but the cost to decarbonise the entire stock, everyone's homes, is just astronomical. I think it's 4 times the amount. So I just would really like to see us sort of really challenge central government to make sure that funds do come forward to support local borough councils across the country with these goals and ambitions, and also subsequently reducing energy costs for residents. Thank you.
I had Councillor Jeffries and then Councillor Collins. Councillor Lewis, do you want to come back in between?
I mean, just to address a few of the points in there, I think there's a lot of really important conversations that we're having. Particularly, we've had some of those conversations about e-scooter enforcement. It's a bizarre middle-of-the-road legal situation in that there are legal and illegal e-scooters. It gets very complicated. But I think one thing the strategy really benefits from, or at least the way that I think the roadmap has been set out, is how incredibly adaptable it is. It may come to a point where we decide to advantage some transport options over other transport options. The report is designed in a way to be flexible enough to take advantage of whatever exciting climate opportunities come to us between now and 2030 without it completely undermining the plan. So I think there's real opportunity there. And with CBH coming back in-house, we've had some really interesting conversations, and we'll have many more interesting conversations, I'm sure Ian will, about how actually we can use climate action and the money we have and the investment that we're making to tackle poverty. It's always brilliant when the climate work we do can help people in more ways than one. So it's something I'm very passionate about.
Councillor Jeffries.
Thank you, Leader. Thank you, Councillor Lewis. It's an extensive piece of work and one that's most welcomed. So thank you. And thank you for your last 2 years on driving this one forward. And thank Councillor Dobie in advance for the next 2 years coming. I would like to put on record, though, my thanks to somebody I think who was at the start of all this process, because this council wouldn't be on this particular pathway and having this particular action plan if former Councillor Wilkinson, or Max Wilkinson as we like to call him now, hadn't set off the actual climate emergency through this very council. It's nice, I think, that we as the council are showing the leadership across the town in this area. It's not something that you see in the press that's banded around as I would like to call a political football to have an argument over. It's a very we must do. So I welcome this action plan and put on record my thanks. Thank you.
Councillor Collins.
Okay. Yeah, thanks very much, Leader. I'm sure you're going to be delighted about what I'm going to say, because I've read the report, and I want to feed back to the team that compiled it that somebody who suffers from my particular affliction was able to easily navigate my way through it. So it's only taken about 8 years, but we've got there, so I could actually read the graphics okay. So thank you.
I can't see any other member indicating. Can I see a show of hands, please, to approve the action plan? Very exciting. Thank you all. So our agenda item 6 today, again, Councillor Jeffries was the then Cabinet Member for Finance and Assets. So he will be reporting on this, despite the fact that it's changed to Councillor Lewis. Councillor Jeffries.
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, it's been an extreme privilege to hold the finance assets portfolio during that time. I know Councillor Lewis is picking that up, and well, undoubtedly, I'm sure he'll have as much fun as I have. One of the particular things that is fun about finance and assets is embedded in this report here, is how we support our communities. There's lots of ways that finance and assets supports the council, which supports the communities across our town, but this is one direct way we, through our assets, our portfolio of buildings, can support our communities. And you can read through in the report that the organisation that we're looking to award a rent support grant to has and does have an impact across the town. I think you'd only have to mention the name to anybody pretty much across the town, they know it. If you're a Charltonian, you know Open Door. They help people from across the spectrum, and as their actual title of their business says, or their charity says, is their door is open. I've had the privilege of visiting them on a few occasions to meet them and talk to patrons there. So it would give me great pleasure to be able to bring a rent support grant on behalf of this council as my last report as the Cabinet for Finance. I'm not going to go into the detail of the report, I'm sure you've all read it, but it obviously aligns, we give our discount aligned to our corporate priorities and how the organisation meets them. We've gone through that process. And there's obviously a conversation with the amount of rent they have to pay, and that's happened. So it gives me great pleasure in presenting this last and final finance report. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Councillor Jeffries. Just before I go to ask for comments, could I please ask that if anybody's got anything that they want to use out of, because a portion of these are on pink papers, so if there's anything that we want to discuss, we need to go into closed session in order to do that. So just be mindful of that. Councillor Lewis.
Thank you, Leader. I mean, I think this report is really the pinnacle of the work that Councillor Jeffries has done within the finance portfolio. I think one of the great privileges I think we've had sharing this time with Pete being our finance cabinet member has been the way that Cheltenham Borough Council has used its assets and used the money that it has to really flex its muscles in doing good and helping those who are doing good. It's so easy when it comes to finance to look at it as spreadsheets and balances, and it's all very exciting. I love a good spreadsheet. But I think what Pete has done, and I think what Cheltenham's commercial strategy really excels on and what makes it really exciting, is our ability to utilise our money, to utilise the privilege and the opportunities that we have as a council to make doing good and making Cheltenham better as exciting and as possible as it can be. And I just want to thank Pete for all his work as finance cabinet member. I'm terrified to try and follow up Pete because nobody else ever could, but it's been a real insight for us. And I think this report is the highlight of our real socially motivated finance strategy.
Any other member wish to speak on the report? It's a real challenge for us, isn't it? But what we do in supporting these groups of people, and that you've only got to look at our list of organisations that we actually support. It does cost this authority a huge amount of money, but the value that we get from doing that for our communities, as Councillor Jeffries said, is immeasurable and invaluable. I mean, it doesn't have a price ticket on it, as far as I'm concerned. It is, it's from scout groups to football clubs to Open Door, just you know, 3 of those spring to mind immediately of the advantage that we have of doing this. And so it's a really positive thing. If there's no other member, could I, unless Peter, a show of hands to approve, please? Thank you. So that takes us on to Cabinet member briefing sessions. And what I'd like to do before I do that is to go round to you all, but is to say a big thank you to all of you. I know I've picked the pack of cards up and thrown the cabinets up in the air, and they've landed with every single member of you being in a different portfolio. But I do think that that's something that is invaluable for us as part of the administration, that we all get skills that get widened out, and we all learn different portfolios in far more detail that actually allows us to be actually more collective and more understanding, and be able to share that knowledge from your past and your future. So thank you all for what you did in the last session with your previous portfolios, all really invaluable. And I'm excited by the future of watching everybody learn new skills. So if I go to my left, I'm guessing you probably haven't got huge amounts of updates from your portfolios, because is it 3 weeks? And then, hey-ho, we've had a general election called as well. Councillor Hallwood.
Nothing really to report. I don't know if there are any cans of worms, but I'm only just finding out how the pantry is organised, so I haven't found any yet. But I'd just like to say, I am just staggered. My portfolio is now economy, well-being and culture, and I'm just staggered by the richness and diversity of our cultural and sporting and artistic organisations, and I think we're very lucky to live in this town, and I'll do my best in this job. Thank you.
Councillor Clucas.
Thank you, Leader. Just a couple of points. The first is to say that Cheltenham is not just Cheltenham, because what happens in Cheltenham is something that cities and towns across the whole of Europe know they can also do. They can copy, because they hear and see what we do in Cheltenham and how they can actually use that experience to help them to rebuild their economies, to reinvigorate their communities, and it makes a heck of a difference. And one of the things I would like to say, Leader, is, you know, that's been done without this council going into bankruptcy, the way lots of other councils in our country have either done or are on the edge of. That says a heck of a lot, not just about the commitment and about the operational ability of lead members, but it says an awful lot about the care and concern that this cabinet has had for the ordinary people of Cheltenham, who actually fund a great deal of what we do. And so, Leader, through you, I'd like to say thank you to them, thank you to Peter, thank you to other colleagues for the work that they've done that enables others to learn, but do so without bringing risk that others might see happening to them that hasn't happened to us. So thank you again.
Councillor Jeffries.
Thank you, Leader. Like colleagues, I'm getting my feet under the table, as I say, in my new portfolio, and getting to draft through it all. One of the particular areas I'm looking forward to, and I'll be obviously talking to you guys in the future, hopefully the near future, and that's around social value. So I'm carrying on as I did previously for the last 2 years, which is the forefront of our communities in my mind, whatever portfolio I hold. And it is an exciting portfolio. I mean, let's face it, the Golden Valley development is the biggest development, the biggest sort of achievement, probably in the southwest, definitely Gloucestershire, but I think it's probably the biggest one in the southwest. It will have the biggest impact on this town, I think, in the long term. So for me, the social value element of that and how we can support areas across the town is quite key. So I look forward to talking to you more about that in the near future. Thank you, Leader.
Councillor Dobie.
Just picking up on what Councillor Clucas said there about how what we do in Cheltenham is often at the leading edge of what's happening nationally if not internationally, but certainly nationally. And I think an example of that is from my previous portfolio, which is about our recycling, and the fact that we're recycling more than anywhere else in terms of the variety of things that are collected at the curbside. And that also brings me on to another point, really, that climate change, and I'm so privileged to have taken on this portfolio, so thank you, Leader. It touches everything that we do in this council. And I've alluded to my previous portfolio, but I know that it will also touch housing. It will touch everything that we do. And also, picking up on what Councillor Jeffrey says about the Golden Valley, again, we're leading on the Golden Valley for Gloucestershire. Climate change, our targets are far more ambitious than those of the national government. We're talking about getting to net zero by 2030. The national government at the moment is talking about maybe 2045, maybe 2050. We are really challenging ourselves, but I do think that the people of Cheltenham are behind us when it comes to the climate change portfolio. I feel that there's such a wealth of goodwill also amongst other parties and individual councillors as well. So this council will be moving together. It's not just our party, it's this council. It's not even just this council. The paper that we saw today was a paper for the whole town, not just the council. It's for the whole of Cheltenham. And I do believe that this is the place, if anywhere in the country, where it will be delivered. Cheltenham is at the forefront. We will not be out-greened by anywhere else. So I'm very upbeat about my portfolio. Thank you.
Councillor Telford.
This is fun. Obviously, really delighted to both have my portfolio and to have a portfolio at all. It's quite exciting. And to be at my first cabinet meeting. Not much to add. I've been getting to grips of being a cabinet member, having this portfolio and a general election, as you can imagine. But I've had good meetings with some of my officers so far. I've had handovers with Councillor Horde and Councillor Dobie for their parts of the portfolio, and things seem to be going well. There's quite a few exciting things to come, and obviously plenty of challenges, I'm sure, but we'll get there. Thank you.
Councillor Atherstone.
Thank you, Leader. Just two updates from me today. The first is actually a little bit legacy from my previous portfolio for Cabinet Member for Housing, but it's also quite prominent in terms of its supporting communities, my new portfolio being safety and communities. I'd like to thank Cheltenham Borough Council and Cheltenham Borough Homes officers and also local businesses, schools, community groups that have all got behind our pre-loved school uniform project. This has been hugely successful, and that is thanks to all the fantastic donations from families all across Cheltenham. They've been donating everything from, summer and winter school uniforms to PE kits and lunch boxes. And just to say that there is still time to make those donations until the 31st of May. Just need to head along to the donation point, which is Dun Elm in Cheltenham off the Tewkesbury Road. I'd also like to raise awareness with regards to a £41,000 fund for organisations in Cheltenham and the Gloucestershire area that have expertise and a passion for detached youth work. There is an opportunity to support young children aged young people even, more accurately, aged over the age of 13 years, that could very much possibly be at risk to with vulnerabilities and antisocial behaviour. And that process is open for applications until the 18th of June. Thank you.
Councillor Atherstone. I know. Councillor Lewis.
I was enjoying my new name there. I intended to inherit it. I'm just having the name now. So if you were using it, Victoria, I'm terribly sorry. That's my title now. But no, I just wanted to update everybody because I'm sure everyone's excited and nervous about the fact that I'm taking on the finance portfolio. I have to say I'm very excited. Colleagues will know local government finance is one of my really sad geek issues. So I could not be more excited. I took full advantage of the glorious summer weather we had the other day to sit in my back garden with a nice drink and read through various exciting spreadsheets. So there's a lot going on at Cheltenham. We have a lot of money and a lot of assets moving around, and I'm really excited to see how we can use them for the very best of Cheltenham and for our long-term, hopefully very sustainable financial future. Thank you, Rhoda.
Councillor Collins.
Thank you, Leader. Last but not least, of course. Everyone has just alluded to the fact that we're all getting our feet under the table and learning a lot of new work. There's a lot to be done, handing over and meeting our new officer teams, etc. And I too am excited by the challenges that lay ahead. I will say one good piece of news from some of the reports I've been reading is that the Arcourt Transport Hub is on target to be opened in July and fully operational by August, which is really quite a success because it's always been those dates and they haven't slipped at all, which I don't think is something that happens very often with big projects. I know that it's a county council-led project, and I think Councillor Dobie said that it's not just about Cheltenham, it's about greater things, and we want to work with everybody else. So I think it's a real positive that we have. I'm really excited because it's in my ward as well, you know, I better mention that. But I think it's going to be a fantastic thing because it's going to help us achieve our climate ambitions as well, because it's going to be 1,000 cars parked there, 10 coach stands, 5 bus stands, every day, and it's going to prevent unnecessary car journeys into our town centre. So that's got to be a good thing. And you know what? There was lots of unhappiness about people, from some people, about all the trees and hedges that were cut down. But they've already replanted with more sustainable vegetation, which in the long term is going to be much better. Biodiversity, net gain, and all that sort of thing. The other thing I wanted to say, and it is related because it's part of the same project, is I can't be quite so positive about the progress on Junction 10, which is still proving to be a huge challenge. So I would like to look to Councillor Jeffries and say if you can work your magic in some way over there, that would be great. But of course, it's not just Councillor Jeffries, it's Councillor Lewis as well, you know. But that's really all I wanted to say. So thank you.
Thank you all. I'm glad to see so many happy, smiling faces, and all very light-hearted and jovial. So, thank you for all your contributions in your briefings. The next section that we move on to now is the decisions of cabinet members. And obviously we haven't met for a while, and we've just been through a little thing called a local election. Not to be confused with the up-and-coming general election. So I'm guessing our list of decisions might be even longer next time. But so the decisions taken, I'm going to just go through the list because there are quite a few. So I've got the first 3 are Councillor Atherstone on the decisions of cabinet members.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, 2 of those decisions, I'd like to say a special thanks to Gareth and Cheltenham Welcomes Refugees, who do fantastic work in our communities, supporting asylum seekers and refugees coming to Cheltenham. They've both been awarded a small grant each. And also to thank the amazing work of Gloucestershire Night Stop. They've been awarded a 3-year grant to support young people who are homeless, so with short-term accommodation, emergency accommodation. So, yeah, really pleased with those 3 decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Atherstone. I then move on to Councillor Jeffries. Was a decision taken on the 10th of April 2024.
Thank you, Leader. I hope I got the right one, actually. So bear with me if I haven't. This was to do the disposal of 45 Grosvenor Street from our HRA property portfolio. Colleagues will be able to read from the decision notice. There are an extensive range of options looked at for this property, and unfortunately we have to then look at disposal, which is the decision I took. Thank you, Leader.
And also, Councillor Jeffries, whilst you're there, 12th of April 2024, there was another decision that you took, interior design work. 12th of April 2024, Cabinet Member for Finance and Assets, interior design work on Goldfoot House, sheltered scheme.
Thank you, Leader. I've got the list now. It's all right. Apologies. Yes, this is to appoint the relevant contract for the interior design work at Goldfoot House, our sheltered housing scheme. It runs in line with the HRA capital programme we approved at the February budget meeting. So I took that decision to appoint that contract. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hallwood.
Yes, I took a decision to effectively correct a historical anomaly, which was to take the name of Yarnald Terrace in the west of Cheltenham and correct it from Yarnald's Terrace, which is what it had been officially called, to what is the proper name, which is Yarnald Terrace. And I would like to thank Councillor David Willingham for his astute attention to detail in bringing that proposal forward, and I'm pleased to see it actually taking place now.
So I then bounce back to Councillor Jeffreys for the 29th of April 2024.
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, this was a decision I took to enter into a contract with Rand Associate Consultancy Services. This is for undertaking our stock condition survey across our housing stock. This will be surveys, stock condition, energy performance and so forth. It's quite a sizable contract, but one as we move into this new compliance world we need to undertake. So I took that decision. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Councillor Jeffreys. I then move on to Councillor Lewis.
Thank you, Leader. I think one of the really important things that we have to think about when we look at how we get Cheltenham to net zero and how we ensure that our children and our children's children can really enjoy Cheltenham is working out how these young people and these families will transition into new and exciting climate-friendly careers and opportunities. So this decision is supporting that. It's a bit of a project with GCC to help develop some climate-friendly skills.
And then I move on to Councillor Doby, 10th of May 2024.
Well, what a pleasure it was to be able to approve of the money being spent on an ongoing programme to improve the play facilities across our town. This award covers several locations across Cheltenham, and it's just symbolic, really, that we put money into our communities. We put money into our young people as well. We provide places, green places in parks typically, where they can enjoy themselves. So I'm so happy that this happened on my watch, and I just say that on your watch, Councillor Trailford, you will have more of these things to do as well, more of these approvals, which will... It's just such a fun portfolio. I can't get over it. But we will continue to be in touch, and just briefly referring back to what was said by Councillor Lewis there, everything touches climate change in our community here in Cheltenham, and we will continue to have that dialogue between us in the coming years. So thank you.
And then we bounce back to Councillor Jeffreys for the 14th of May 2024.
Thank you, Leader. This decision was to appoint Adapt Architects to deliver professional retrofit design services. Colleagues will remember we did have some funding by the Social Housing Decarbonisation Fund. I think it's the Wave 2.1. Where they get the 2.1 from, I don't know. But anyway, yeah, this is to appoint the relevant architects to deliver those services in line with all of that decarbonisation works we're hoping to undertake. Thank you, Leader.
And the final, the final decision this evening was one that I took back on the 10th of April in 2024, which was, as members will know, we council approved the bringing back in-house of Cheltenham Borough Homes, and then I took a decision as the shareholder and leader for the dissolution of Cheltenham Borough Homes to happen, not here, not today, not tomorrow, but sometime in the future in due course. And that's a decision that followed on from council saying we're winding up Cheltenham Borough Homes and bringing them home to CBC. I don't have any other items that I determined to be urgent and requires a decision, so I will now call the meeting closed at just before 20 to 7. Thank you, everybody.